am a certified hero. It's true. CNN says so, and they even gave me a plaque to prove it. And as a bona fide hero, I am here today to tell you that the only thing we do alone in this life is die, especially heroes. As Americans, we are obsessed with the idea of pulling ourselves up by our bootstraps. We think that not only is it possible to pull those boots on ourselves, but that it is in fact a requirement for success. I would like to dismantle that entire idea. I call this the bootstrap myth. It's a myth that we love to perpetuate because it allows us to judge others for their choices or excuse ourselves for our own. But in reality, no one does anything alone, even things that others consider heroic. In 2006, I was working for a church, and many people would come seeking financial assistance. The request was often similar. I live in Minneapolis. I work second shift in a suburb. There's no bus that runs when I get off at night. My car broke down, and it's going to cost $500 to fix it. And if I can't get to work, I'm going to lose my job, I won't be able to pay rent, and then me and my kids will be out on the street. We would help when we were able, but it was usually never the full amount, and there were many, many others in similar situations. The church was also affiliated with a shelter for homeless men, and many of those men kept these beat-up old cars that they would use as alternative shelter if they didn't get a bed in the lottery system. They also maintained those cars because it allowed them to have a connection to their lives before they were in this situation, and thus keep some dignity. But those cars were often parked on the street and needed to be moved often or risk being towed, and so knocks would often come to my office door. "Miss Cathy, can you help me push my car around the corner?" Or, "Miss Cathy, I need a new battery. Do you have any wrenches?" And again, I would help when I was able, being acutely aware that not only was I helping to maintain somebody's transportation, but also in many cases their home. And again, a home and reliable transportation mean dignity. It was during this time that I kept thinking about a full-time, low-cost car repair shop. I kept thinking somebody should do something about this. My friends, those are dangerous words because one day I thought them and then the next day I realized that somebody was me. And I like to joke that if you find yourself thinking those words, you should set down whatever is in your hand and turn around and run like hell, because it's probably, it's probably the universe tapping you on the shoulder, telling you to do something you have no interest in doing. I ignored the universe for a few years, and at the age of 38, I enrolled in Dunwoody College to get a degree in auto technology with some vague notion of helping low-income people get their cars fixed at a reduced rate. Already holding a bachelor's in social work and a master's in pastoral ministry, I walked into a classroom of 40 18-year-old boys, and I immediately thought to myself, what in the hell have I done? You see, I didn't know a lot about cars, and the culture of automotive school was, shall we say, just a bit different than that of theology school. It was like this weird mix of all-boys high school and boot camp. There was a lot of rigidity and hollering, and here I come with my touchy-feely degrees in social work and ministry, and I'm like, can't we just talk about how the cars are feeling? But I ultimately made it through 2 years of automotive school, and then I spent 3 years pursuing this idea of a full-time, low-cost auto repair shop. That shop soon had a name, the Lift Garage. The Lift Garage is a nonprofit auto repair shop that provides low-cost car repair to low-income Minnesotans. We charge $15 an hour for labor and parts at cost. When we opened in 2013, we were subletting one bay, 1 day a week, using only volunteers. Today, we operate 5 bays in our own space, are open 5 days a week, and employ a staff of 10. Since then, I have gotten a lot of accolades, and for that I am grateful. But I also get super frustrated when people say things to me like, "You're a saint," or a hero because all of that praise implies that this is something I did all alone, that I pulled myself up by my proverbial bootstraps and made this amazing thing happen. My friends, the Lift Garage would not exist today if it were left solely up to me. Every step of the way found me nurtured, guided, led, and supported by others. Back to automotive school. I honestly thought automotive school was going to be easy. I mean, I'd been to graduate school. How hard could it be? Automotive school kicked my butt. It was so hard, every piece of it, the culture, the content, the schedule. And I found myself super frustrated and overwhelmed and crying many days. I wanted to quit. But then the wave of help began, the first in the form of one of my Dunwoody instructors, a man named Dave Duvall. Now, Dave isn't what you would think of when you think of an angel, but there he was, a big, strong, barking, bellowing angel. And one day, after a really hard day, I said to him, I didn't think I could go through with this, this was just not meant to be. And he sat me down, and he looked me in the eye, and he said, "You can do this. I believe in you, and I will help you every step of the way so that I can watch you walk across that stage in 2 years." And he was true to his word, and he became one of the first members of the board of the Lift Garage, and he remains on the board to this day. After I graduated, I spent 2 years having coffee with anyone who would talk with me about this idea. I took out this yellow legal pad, and on one side I wrote down the types of people I thought I should be talking to: lawyers, nonprofit people, mechanics, shop owners, and so on. On the other side, I filled in names of people that I knew that fit those descriptions, but there was a lot of blank spaces. I started with the people I knew, took them out for coffee, sought their wisdom, their input, their advice, and then I asked them to help me fill in the rest of those blanks. I probably had 50, 60, 70 cups of coffee over that time, and every one of those people made the Lift Garage a reality, ensuring dignity for people in need of affordable car repair. My friend Leisha is a life coach, and she volunteered to mentor me during this time. We talked on the phone usually once a week for about an hour, and one week we decided my homework for the following week would be to call this person who was developing a mobile repair service, and I thought I could get some wisdom from them. I absolutely hate calling strangers on the phone, and so I didn't do it. And the next week, Leisha and I are checking in, and she said, "How did the phone call go?" And I started immediately making excuses. I got so busy, I ran out of time, et cetera, et cetera. Leisha listened supportively, and then she said, "Okay, well, how much time do you have blocked off for our call today?" I said, "An hour." She said, "Great, you have time now." She hung up on me. Leisha made the lift, and thus dignity happen. And God, or the universe, or however you wish to name it, was there too. We were on a trajectory to open something in early 2014. In December of 2012, over a full year ahead of that schedule, I got a call from an acquaintance of mine who had been running a car business, and they needed somebody to sublet a bay. So she called me and said, I heard what you're trying to get off the ground with the lift, and I think you all should start subletting a bay from me in January. I burst out laughing and said, absolutely not. We're not anywhere close to having anything ready to do, to be able to do that. A couple weeks later, she calls again and says, "No, really, I think you should think about this." And I said, "No, really, I have. There's nothing that we have ready. We don't have pens, for goodness sakes. We don't have anything ready. Thank you for thinking of me." Hung up. A couple weeks later, she calls a third time. Now I'm just irritated. And so as I'm about to, somewhat irritated, to tell her that, we cannot do this, I heard this prophetic, although not very angelic voice that said, "Dumbass, the door is opening. Walk through it." The door is opening. And but I'm scared. The door is opening. But there's so much we don't walk through it. And so we did. I could tell you about the thousands of hours given to the lift in the form of board membership, car repairs, phone answering. Turns out when you call up insurance companies and you tell them, we don't have any money and we don't have any credit history or insurance history and we'd like to use volunteers to fix people's brakes, you're not well received. A volunteer board member made those laborious calls, finally netting us insurance after being rejected 13 times. The lift garage is not a creation of Cathy Heying, but it is an embodiment of what we are capable of when we let go of that idea that we must go it alone. And every time we call someone a saint or a hero, putting them on a pedestal, not only do we let ourselves off the hook, but we dismiss the thousands of shoulders that that person is standing on. The lift has served thousands of people and saved low-income Minnesotans over $1 million in car repair costs since we opened. That's something I'm very proud of course. But that also means I have had a first-hand seat, a front row seat, to watching how the bootstrap myth comes to bear on those same people. Sure, they come to us for tires, and they also bring with them the weight of a world that tells them they are poor because they are not doing enough. If only you would go to school, stay in school, not have gone to school, get married, stay married, get a job, work harder, then you would not be in this situation. First of all, that's just not true. Nobody works harder on any given day just to get their basic needs met than people struggling economically. Secondly, the bootstrap myth presumes that every person is starting with the same tools to take the same test required for success. There's an old comic that shows an elephant, a giraffe, a snake, a fish, and a monkey standing in front of a tree. There's an instructor, and he says, "For a fair selection, everyone must take the exact same test. Please climb that tree." To me, when we say that somebody should pull themselves up by their bootstraps, we are essentially asking them to take the exact same test without any acknowledgement that some people don't even have access to the tools, much less the tools themselves. This entire premise leaves already drowning people without any hope because they believe they have to do it alone. How can you pull yourselves up by your bootstraps when you don't even own the boots? Like Kelly, who got her car fixed at the lift garage, and that enabled her to leave an abusive partner. She was working a low-wage job, trying to support her teenage daughters, because the abuse left her with a minor brain injury that limits the type of work she can do. Or like Virginia, whose ex-husband's addiction ruined their credit, meaning that she could only get a car loan at one of those "we finance anyone" places. She was paying 30% in interest when she got disabled at her job. They didn't default the loan, but the interest accrued for the entire 18 months she was off work. When we saw her, we determined that her car needed so much work that it was not even worth investing in. And that's when we learned that she owed $5,000 on a car that she had paid $3,000 to begin with. With these amazing clients, generous donors, selfless volunteers, and talented colleagues as my teachers, it is so clear that I do not do this alone. And I am happy to support anyone in their work for creating a more just world. You can call me anytime. Just don't call me a hero. Thank you.